There's an old line that says sometimes there's weeks when years happen, and this past week felt like one of those. The big news, of course, is President Biden's decision not to run for re-election, followed quickly by Kamala Harris being essentially anointed to be the candidate for the Democratic nomination for the presidency. And Harris did not fare very well when she ran for president in the primaries in 2020, but there does seem to be genuine excitement this time around. But is she the best candidate to take on Donald Trump? Lisa, should there have been a more open process in choosing the candidate?
Well, the thing is, we'll never know. First of all, I got to acknowledge that a month ago I sat here and said it was too late for a change. So I was obviously wrong about that. But I think it was too late for the party to contemplate anybody else by that point. And so again, we won't know because we're not going to have that process. She's not going to be tested in the fire of the primary, which could have happened had there been an announcement, 20 months ago that Biden wasn't going to run.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with Lisa. It is the only choice at this point in the game to show unity within that party, to really have a chance to have any chance against Trump.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Rick, please. I think Biden sealed it by, basically endorsing her so quickly after announcing that he was not going to run. And I think part of the excitement is somewhat about her, but mostly the excitement is that Biden isn't running.
So it's not excitement, it's relief.
Yes, I would definitely say it's relief. And now that we are at this point, I agree with Lisa. The Democrats have no other choice here but to go forward at this point to try to have an open convention or to try to stall this, I think would hurt them much more.
Even beyond that, though, I think she's a formidable candidate within the context of the Democratic bench. Yes, there are rising governors who will most likely run for president, and we'll talk about a potential VP pick, but Lansing and Harrisburg is not the same as working in Washington as she has. She has experience as a presidential candidate, which those other people do not. I think she gets a bad rap for her campaign. Yes, certainly she made some strategic flaws, but as our former colleague here, Peter Enns, has documented, she was top 5 in popularity along with Cory Booker. And the problem that those candidates faced wasn't so much their popularity, was that they were not popular in Iowa and New Hampshire, as most black candidates are not. So I think we've seen early on she's raised $250 million, $100 million for her own campaign, $150 million has gone to PACs. That's unprecedented. Her initial opening speech was widely well received. Certainly it's going to be a 3-month sprint. There's going to be stumbles, but I think you could make the argument she was the best option. It wasn't just inevitable.
The 3-month sprint could potentially work to her advantage.
But there are a couple of problems here. First of all, borders are. That's going to come up. One of the things that's probably largest failure of the Biden administration, she was in charge of. The second is, according to GovTrack, she was the most liberal senator, all right, when you look at sponsored and co-sponsored bills. California isn't something that is going to lead Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia voters to vote Democratic, at least those that they're going to need to win this. So there are some problems here.
She was the Attorney General of California, which is
at least she was a prosecutor,
yes.
right. But look, I think the short time frame is actually beneficial to her, and I honestly think that it's good. If you want her to win, I think it's good that the public doesn't know as much about her as we would know had there been a 20-month campaign. I really do, and I think. I think she can kind of ride the wave of this excitement, relief, whatever you want to call it. Try not to make any mistakes. She's not going to lose young voters. She's not going to lose voters of color. She has to worry about losing independents by making moves that are overly progressive right? So
I think she's going to be able to bring some young voters to the polls, or sorry, not to the polls, to vote. I think there's about 8 million new voters than the last election, and they're all on social media, and she's all over social media right now.
We've already seen that in the preliminary polling that's come out since the announcement. She's doing well, better than Biden. Those very
Yeah.
demographics you mentioned. Yes, she could lose some other demographics, but it's now essentially a toss-up in terms of national polls. She's closed the gap in many of the swing states. So, yeah, it's super early. And to Rick's point, yes, the border issue, and particularly the where Republicans have already pounced, where she said she hadn't been to the border and really
Right.
messed that up, I think was the low point of her vice presidency. But I think the benefit of that is you learn from it, and she will be prepared and better off this time in a way that inexperienced candidates, they'll make that gaffe and they'll have to recover in real time.
I do think she's going to have an opportunity if and when, Trump says he wants multiple debates with her. I think that could be a turning point. If she's able to be the prosecutor as opposed to the felon and make those points, I think she has the ability to turn things around for the Democrats here.
Yeah, I wonder whether, when push comes to shove, whether he'd
that would
really
be-
have
We'll
those
see.
debates. I mean,
Yes.
she was pretty tough when she in the various hearings on the Senate committees. As acting as a prosecutor, and the debate will be a little bit different, of course, because she won't be the one asking the questions.
I just think her social media presence, her sort of quirkiness, her personality is such so appealing, I think, to young voters in particular. But I think it's so sort of refreshing compared to Joe Biden. It's the contrast.
That quirkiness or awkwardness could actually work to her
Yes,
advantage in the
yes,
age
yes,
of TikTok.
yes.
And I mean, all these videos
No,
I've been
it's
watching. I sent my daughter, my 21-year-old daughter, one of those videos, and she couldn't stop laughing because I
Yeah.
sent it to her.
It's coming across as relatable and
Yeah.
genuine.